Hello, friends. This is Jim with Science Talk, and this is a story not necessarily related to climate change, but it is a factor. But it's more like an indication of how much human population has grown to the point of putting pressure on resources. Humans are eating most of Earth's largest animals to extinction. Large animals are typically referred to as megafauna. So, if you have, like a T-Rex, that's obviously a megafauna, or an elephant, rhinoceros, obviously a megafauna. If you've got a fox, no, not a megafauna. So, a research published in the journal Conservation Letters, scientists surveyed the population of nearly 300 species of megafauna around the world, and what they found was disturbing and troubling. According to the authors, at least 200 species, which is about 70-75% of the world's largest animals, are seeing their populations dwindle and basically almost to the point of outright extinction. The primary threat in most of these cases appeared to be human meat consumption. Direct harvest for human consumption of meat or body parts is the biggest danger to nearly all of the large species with threat data available. This is a statement from the lead study author, William Ripple, who is a professor of ecology at Oregon State University College of Forestry. Our results suggest we are in the process of eating megafauna to extinction. Now, several years back, Elizabeth Colbert wrote a superb book called The Sixth Extinction, where she outlines all that human activities are causing flora and fauna to go to extinction, or the pressure of that, be it land degradation, pollution, climate change, you know the litany, overharvesting, etc. So let's look at what is meant by megafauna. It tends to be a broad biological term, and it can apply, from a T-Rex to even the Australian codfish. So what did they do? Professor Ripple and his colleagues. This is what they did. And I'm kind of going to give you an overview of the methodology that they utilized. They defined megafauna as any non-extinct vertebrate above a certain weight threshold. For mammals, ray-finned and cartilaginous fish, chondrichthyes, are sharks and rays. Mammals, we're talking obviously whales, those kind of big guys. Any species weighing more than 100 kilograms, about 220 pounds. So that will include seals, walrus, sea lions, all your whales, even some ungulates. Moose are big animals. They weigh about, depending, 600 to 900 kilograms. Elk, so you get the idea. For amphibians, birds, and reptiles, species weighing more than 40 kilograms or larger were considered megafauna. So this left the researchers with about 292 such species. And what they did was they used what's called the IUCN Red List. Now, IUCN stands for the International Union of Concerned Nature's Red List. I will post the URL to their website in the description box below, but it's basically www.iucnredlist.org. The IUCN Red List is all one thing, no spaces, no underscores, dashes, and so forth. So IUCNredlist.org is that website, and they have a bunch of information there for you to check out. So this IUCN Red List is an international database that assesses the extinction risk posed to more than 60,000 species. The researchers determined the level of threat faced by each of their 292 megafauna species. They found that 70 to 75% of their megafauna sample showed decreasing populations, and 59% were threatened with total extinction. So you have 70% overall, 70% showing decreasing population numbers. 59% of that 292 are showing threats with total extinction. According to the researchers, that makes megafauna far more vulnerable than all vertebrate species as a whole, of which 21% are threatened with extinction and 46% have declining populations. In other words, when you look at the non-megafauna species, 21% are threatened with extinction, 46% are experiencing declining populations. This bias against Earth's largest creatures is highly unusual and unmatched over the last 65 million years. What happened 65 million years? Oh, that's right, a big rock came tumbling out of the sky. So basically, this is the biggest threat since the post-dinosaur era. So, why is this happening? Well, as I stated at the outset, human consumption of meat. Humans are getting better at killing from a distance. Before rifles, you have to kind of walk up there with a spear or shoot an arrow. May not be as effective. So you probably end up hunting for smaller game. High-powered rifle, you don't have to get very close to the animal. You can take down an animal with a well-placed shot from 100 yards, 150 yards, 200 yards. Boom, drop the animal, there you go. So that's, the improvement of the technology has enabled easier hunting and harvesting of the larger animals. Since the 1760s, listen to this, 9 megafauna species have gone extinct in the wild, thanks to human overhunting and habitat encroachment. One of those species is the great auk. Now, the great auk was often referred to as the penguin of the north. These were very large birds. They stood at least a meter tall, and you can find them basically maritime Canada, Nova Scotia, Newfoundland, pretty much Labrador up that way. And they really had no natural predators, at least on land. They had to go swimming for food and fish, and so they have to deal with the sharks and the seals, and orcas, that kind of stuff. But on land, they didn't have anything to fear from. Europeans come over, and it's like, hey, wow, this is easy takings. And they started slaughtering them, not just for meat, but for other parts of their body. And their eggs were they laid large eggs, not many, 1 or 2 to a clutch, and within a century, they were extinct. They went from several million birds to 0. Great auk. So Professor Ripple and his colleagues basically state meat consumption was the most common motive for harvesting megafauna for all classes except reptiles, where harvesting eggs was ranked on top. Well, if you harvest the eggs, you're not going to have the next generation, what we say the year class. Other leading reasons for harvesting megafauna included medicinal use, unintended bycatch in fisheries and trapping, live trade, and various other uses of body parts such as skins and fins, like shark fins, or the gallbladder is an aphrodisiac, all these other kind of poor uses. So, of course, these findings really should not come as a surprise, but it is definitely a sad testament to what's going on. Okay, right? Look at how elephants are poached just for their tusks, the ivory. Rhinos, their horns, which is really keratin. It's compacted hair. So, a lot of conservationists have taken the extreme steps of sedating rhinos, cutting off their horns, so that the animals aren't killed later on just for their horns. So according to the researchers, establishing legal barriers to limit the trade and collection of megafauna products is an essential step towards slowing this mass extinction in progress. Now, there has been some limited success on this front. In 1982, the International Whaling Commission adopted a moratorium on commercial whaling, which nearly 90 countries abide by today, except for Japan and, unfortunately, Norway. Since then, many of the largest marine mammals are in the process of recovering after the global cessation. So, of course, such bold action requires cooperation globally among nations and enforcement, which is a little tougher to do out in the sea. But nevertheless, it's still essential. So, like everything else, humans are showing to have a negative adverse impact on the environment with deleterious results for organisms. And what it comes down to is, quite bluntly, is that there are too many people on the planet, and it's just too much pressure on dwindling finite resources. That's what it comes down to. So I wanted to share that with you. And as I've also discussed with you before, if I have a parcel of land, I can get more food growing vegetable than raising meat. So if we switch more to a vegetarian, or at least definitely reduce the amount of meat in our diet, we can then use more of that land to grow vegetables and fruit, which will feed more people. That just has to be done. So, thank you for your time. We'll talk soon. Hey friends, this is Jim reminding you to subscribe and share my videos. Also, don't forget to click the bell so that you know when I drop a video in. And I'm also asking for you to please support the work that I do by becoming a patron at patreon.com. Details in the description box below. Thank you for your continued support.